On replacement of the control board, this is of course for the UV printer model. It's the same process for the H4 printer model as well. First thing I'm going to start with, you got a screwdriver. Make sure that it's a Phillips head. I'm going to power off the printer first. Red button. Unplug the power. Plug the USB cable in the back. What we're going to then do is lower the basket because we have to remove the printer cover. And if you have ink bottles, it's the same thing. You're going to just lower that. We're going to put that to the side for now. Unscrew the 4 Phillips screws at the back of the printer cover that holds the printer in place. I'm going to just put that in my pocket. Now you may need 2 people to remove the cover. I'm just going to remove it right from the back and just set this aside. Now that the cover is removed, this is the control board right here. Now, you want to make sure your versions match. If they do not match, just confirm with support. We do have backwards compatible versions as well. So typically, what I walk through is just making sure before I unplug anything is that, one, it looks like the similar connector types, which they do. The connectors do match. The only difference is this is one single motor driver, whereas this is a dual motor driver. So we first start off, or I first start with actually unplugging one thing at a time and then plugging it into the new replacement board. I start from the left side first. If you're not sure, what you can also do is take pictures of how everything is plugged in before you start unplugging anything. So I'll start with that, make sure it lines up to the front. Same thing, vice versa. You'll notice that each cable has an indicator of what it lines up and should be plugged into. So you see that I'm simply just pulling on the cable. They should release very simply and easily. Plug into the new connectors, okay? One at a time. 3 goes in 3. Just make sure that they always are matching the connector type. And do not force it in if it's not going in, of course. If it's not going in, there should be a reason why that's occurring. Now I'm just going to actually hang this aside for now, because what we're going to have to do is remove the old control board. It looks like that was missing a screw. So now I can go ahead and proceed to unplug the rest of these cables. They're all labeled, so I mean it's going to be fairly difficult to connect them the wrong way. The only thing you need to pay attention to is when you reconnect this. These are the white ribbon cables. They need to be inserted so that the metal pins are facing these metal pins in the port. So I'm just going to unplug everything first. And you see, it just pulls straight up. One thing you have to keep in mind here is the power ports have these clips. And I'm just going to unclip that and apply side pressure so that you can unclip it from the clip. And you see what I'm doing is I'm just applying side pressure and then pulling straight up. That's it. So that's our old control board. I'm going to set this aside. Go back to the new control board now. Rearrange these cables because these cables are plugged in from the top. And I'm going to first screw and mount in the board. It looks like I lost a screw, but can definitely find a replacement. That's fine. So first thing, start from the bottom. E goes in E, P goes into P, L goes into L, and of course C goes to C. I normally do the power ports last. There's going to be one cable coming from the actual carriage. This will route underneath the tubing system, and the way that it's positioned is there should be some bends in the cable already, okay? This cable will insert into the first slot right at the top here. The it's actually labeled head film. So once I plug that in, make sure, of course, the pins are facing towards the printer, and you got the blue ribbon facing toward at the back here. The next thing I plug in is number 9, and you see number 9, the pins are facing towards the back of the printer. You want to make sure these pins, none of them are bent. If they are, you must straighten them out. If they're burnt, do not plug it in. You have to call support because it needs to be replaced. Next cable is the end cable is a Nancy, and that the pins face towards the front of the printer. The next one is, it looks like this is going to be I think it's an 8, where that one, the pins face towards the back of the printer. Next is M as in Mary. Goes right in this port. Now, of course, as I mentioned before, don't force it in because they only go in one way. The last two items are the 12 volt and 24 volt. So make sure they go in the right spot because you do not want to accidentally switch the voltage, which will damage the printer. So 12 and 12, 24 and 24. Once it's snapped into place, next thing we're going to do is power the printer on. So I'm going to go here, and when you do this, make sure nothing's on the bed. Plug the power in, turn the red power button clockwise. Once that's on, you just want to confirm that the remote control is operational here. And for some reason, there we go. So this is the remote. Once you hear a beep, we should be able to test the functionality of the bed. By pushing the forward button. If it stops, it should say front back test. Backward now. And that's a backward test. That means the functionality of the control board and the bed is functioning fine. Next step, power the printer on, and then continue testing.